Let's go to Ukraine and Rudy Giuliani. I love the fact he's defending the president in an op-ed, all of the work that he's done. I hear all of the testimonies today, at least, from those who want to quiet him and quiet the president and try to, well, they're stating it, that they think this is outrageous, that people should have truth and justice in faraway places like Ukraine. Giuliani and the president think the opposite. What do you think, Victoria?
Hey, Lou, that's what Rudy's been doing forever since he's been representing the president. I know because he called me in February of this year telling me what he had just discovered about Ukraine and how the people, Lutsenko, had come to him and said, these people in Ukraine were helping to frame the president. And he said, I can't represent him because I have to represent the president, and he asked me to represent him. And that's how I got involved in it all. But, you know, our sweet little ambassador went around and told everyone not to talk to us when we went there, and so did George Kent. He flew into Kiev to do that. But you can't blame the president for being mad at Ukraine. They were part of the cabal against him from the day he was elected. You know what
I have to tell you, as I watch it, I'm sitting there thinking these are two earnest, and I'm going to give them credit for being well-intentioned public servants. But for all the world, it was because they weren't in this special, super-duper irregular chain, and no one had patted them on the back or spent time having a sip of tea with them. That's what they seemed most upset about, and it was outrageous to me that they have to be, you know, that they had this sort of, I can say no other word, petty reaction to not being in the irregular chain as well as the regular chain, and it didn't seem that either were particularly actually disturbed by it. George Kent is a separate issue, though, in this, and his motives seem peculiar to me. John Solomon reported back in March, and I want to get this right, that George Kent had pressured Ukrainian prosecutors to back off an investigation into ANTAC, the Anti-Corruption Action Center that George Soros Group is sponsored as such. This is a complicated deal here, and it seems that he wanted to keep an investigation of Ukrainian corruption with limits on it, even as he answered questions today. Your thoughts, Joe?
Well, there's no doubt that George Soros controls a very large part of the career foreign service of the United States State Department. He also controls the activities of FBI agents overseas who work for NGOs, work with NGOs. That was very evident in Ukraine, and Kent was part of that. He was a very big protector of Soros. His testimony today showed this kind of stern sort of discomfort with not being included in certain discussions. But the truth is, George Soros had a daily opportunity to tell the State Department through Victoria Nuland what to do in Ukraine. And he ran it. Soros ran it. He corrupted FBI officials. He corrupted foreign service officers. And the bottom line is this. George Soros wants to run Ukraine, and he's doing everything he can to use every lever of the United States government to make that happen for business interests, not for good government business.
Yeah, his organization is not anti-corruption. It's anti-competitor. It goes after people who compete with George Soros in the name of anti-corruption.
And it was an interesting moment with George Kent under questioning on that and the way in which he walked right up to the boundary, but wouldn't go so far as to say that this should be a comprehensive investigation of these activities that, of course, is precisely what the President of the United States made clear to President Zelensky that he wanted, bringing in the U.S. Justice Department to work with the Ukrainian authorities and government. Victoria, it's great to see you. Joe, great to see you. And I'll be glad to mediate any discussion of Council Castor's performance today if you want to give me a yell. Thanks so much.
Next week in D.C.
You got a deal. Thanks so much.